It was a fierce political contest from the word go. 8 candidates were on the ballot, but in reality, the battle was between these two. The incumbent Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga making his 4th attempt at the presidency. August 8, 2017. The enthusiasm among Kenyan voters evident with long queues across the country.
I wish to declare Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta as President-elect.
3 days later, the Electoral Commission declared Kenyatta winner. Odinga immediately disputed the results, and protests broke out in opposition strongholds. August 19th. The opposition submitted tens of thousands of documents and filed a petition at the Supreme Court. It claimed the vote was rigged. September the 1st, an unprecedented decision.
That the presidential election held on 8th August 2017 was not conducted in accordance with the Constitution.
The Supreme Court nullified the election, citing irregularities. The reaction was immediate, with the president describing the Supreme Court judges as a bunch of crooks. The new vote was announced for the 17th of October. It was later moved to the 26th.
Fellow Kenyans, I wish to announce to you today, on behalf of the IEBC,
the Electoral Commission cited it needed more time to prepare. Kenyatta went on the campaign trail again. In contrast, Odinga left the country to travel to the US and UK. And on October the 10th, Odinga withdrew from the election. With the opposition boycotting the vote, Kenyatta won the rerun.
I, Uhuru Kenyatta.
And on November 28th, he was sworn in as president. Many hoped that would end the drama of Kenya's election cycle. But that appears not to be the case. And 2018 may become another year of frustration and economic uncertainty for the East African nation. Thuli, Tshabala, CGTN.
Well, let's bring you some analysis on these latest developments. We're now joined in studio by David Kikaya, an international relations expert. David, of course, some people are calling yesterday's events a mock inauguration, nothing more than a symbolic gesture. But realistically, does Raila Odinga face any consequences for his actions yesterday?
Yeah, definitely. He'll face some consequences. Some of them are already being felt right now. You're aware that one of the councils associated with the swearing has already been picked up. Perhaps many more will be picked up. But we also need to contextualize this in a more wider scope, in the sense that anyway, especially in Africa, where a strong opposition has arisen, and those ones who feel aggrieved have done anything other than comply, have had to face certain consequences. So yes, he's going to face a number of consequences.
There has been a lot of remarks about the fact that several of his closest allies did not attend yesterday's event,
right.
Some claiming that their security was under threat.
Right.
Nevertheless, some people are pointing to the fact, or suggesting that this points to the fact that the opposition alliance is now beginning to fragment. What are your thoughts?
Very rightly so. Most people are disappointed, if not frustrated, that what had been seen to be a very cohesive body in terms of NASA was not able to live to that at this particular point of delivery. So there's that disquiet. But as you saw, President Raila Odinga, if you can call him, try to explain that, one, there were reasons why they were not able to come. Coercion, of course, is doing its rounds. Secondly, that his deputy was going to be sworn in at some given time. And then thirdly, they were going to release full details on why they were absent. So we have just been left on a lurch to find out what are these intrinsic reasons. But again, equally important, we must understand the meaning that the word alliance imports is the coming together of various political groups. And by nature, that coming together, it just depends on the group that binds them.
Indeed. There is also these suggestions now that the general population is becoming fatigued by this ongoing political drama. Do you think what happened yesterday, this inauguration, might actually open the door to negotiations or some kind of dialogue that will finally put this whole political drama to bed once and for all?
Underline the word fatigue. Fatigue in the sense that, you know, Kenya, give it credit, since independence, have always held some semblance of elections after every 5 years. Whether that is, whether they have been transparent and credible is an ongoing debate. But most Kenyans will tell you they were anything but transparent all along. So that fatigue must also be seen from how long we held these elections, and every time we have elections, there is also a dispute in terms of who has stolen what, who has stolen what. But what makes this one particular one a little bit tiring is the protracted nature of the elections. On the 8th, everybody lined up and braved the sun, the rains, the wind, and thought they had done a good job, only to discover it was all nil. So true, there is fatigue, and people are thinking that let's put this behind us, let's see what can come forward. And that, if Kenya is still going to hold together, let me say it here on record, that the government in power must climb down, the opposition also must climb down from the various side hotels, if they think they are, to come and talk. Because if they don't come and talk, I'm afraid we are going to see a very divided Kenya. People are putting the numbers that were in Uhuru Park at tens of thousands, as we said, but I saw a report by one of the international media that there are about 3 million people there. And that's not a very small number, especially for Nairobi, but also given, if you compare that with who turned up at Independence on the 12th of December, but more importantly, those people having come from almost all over voluntarily, not being bussed in or anything. So there is something to be said about some discontent, frustration by Kenyans, which ought to be addressed.
We'll have to leave it there. David Kikaya, international relations expert, his views on these events in Kenya. But of course, as we can see, it may have been a mock inauguration, but something that can't be ignored nevertheless.